Good morning, and welcome back to this channel, the place where real science meets real life for seniors who refuse to simply accept aging without a fight. Can't walk straight anymore? This is the warning sign. Most doctors will never tell you about. You've probably seen the videos. Beet juice is good for your blood pressure, but here's the secret ingredient that supposedly doubles its power, and it's sitting in your kitchen right now. That phrasing should make you a little suspicious, because doubles the effect is exactly the kind of claim that sounds amazing and rarely survives contact with the actual research. So today, I want to give you the real version of this topic. Beet juice and blood vessel health is a genuinely well-studied area of nutrition science. There's real, solid research here, especially for older adults. And there's also a fascinating combination involving vitamin C that researchers have specifically tested. I'm going to walk you through what that research actually found, including a result that might surprise you, because it's more nuanced than doubles the effect. Quick disclaimer, this isn't medical advice. If you're on blood pressure medication, please talk to your doctor before making beet juice a regular habit, because the blood pressure lowering effect is real, and combined with medication, it can lower your pressure more than intended. That's not me being overly cautious. That's a genuine research-supported caution. Let's get into the actual science, starting with why your blood vessels change as you get older in the first place. Nitric oxide and why it matters more as you age. Your arteries aren't passive tubes. The inner lining, called the endothelium, is a thin but extremely active layer of cells that helps regulate how your blood vessels behave. One of its key jobs is producing a molecule called nitric oxide, which causes blood vessels to relax and widen, a process called vasodilation. When nitric oxide is doing its job well, your blood flows more freely, your heart doesn't have to work as hard to push blood through a constricted system, and your tissues get better oxygen delivery. It's well established in cardiovascular research that endothelial function, including nitric oxide-related vasodilation, tends to decline with age. This is a genuine, well-documented part of vascular aging, and it's one of the reasons researchers have been so interested in dietary strategies that might support this pathway. I want to be upfront that I couldn't verify a specific 50% reduction by age 60 figure from a circulation study. That exact number doesn't show up in the research I could trace. But the underlying direction is real and well established. Nitric oxide-mediated vascular function generally declines with age, and this decline is connected to several things people often write off as just getting older: reduced exercise tolerance, changes in blood pressure regulation, and slower recovery. This is exactly the kind of area where dietary nitrates, found in beets and other vegetables, have generated real scientific interest because they offer a separate pathway to support nitric oxide levels, somewhat independent of how well your endothelium is producing it on its own. How beet juice actually works, and what the real research shows. Beets are unusually rich in dietary nitrates. When you consume them, oral bacteria and your digestive system convert these nitrates into nitrite and ultimately into nitric oxide through what researchers call the nitrate-nitrite-nitric oxide pathway. This gives your body an alternative route to nitric oxide that doesn't rely entirely on your endothelium's own production, which is exactly why it's of interest for older adults specifically. The blood pressure research here is genuinely solid. A comprehensive 2024 systematic review and meta-analysis, meaning it pooled results across many individual trials, which is one of the strongest forms of evidence in nutrition science, found that beetroot juice produces a measurable, statistically significant reduction in clinic-measured systolic blood pressure in people with hypertension, with effects holding up across trials lasting up to 90 days. An earlier meta-analysis of 16 trials found an average systolic blood pressure reduction of about 4.4 millimeters of mercury associated with nitrate and beetroot juice supplementation. That's a real, modest, clinically meaningful effect, not a dramatic 10-point swing, but a genuine one. Here's where it gets specifically interesting for older adults. Some of the most compelling recent research has come from the University of Exeter, where researchers found that people in their 60s and 70s who drank concentrated beetroot juice twice daily for 2 weeks saw a noticeable drop in blood pressure. But the same effect wasn't observed in younger participants whose blood pressure was already lower to begin with. The researchers traced part of this difference to the oral microbiome, the community of bacteria living in your mouth, which plays a key role in converting dietary nitrate into nitrite, the first step toward nitric oxide. As people age, this bacterial balance shifts, and the Exeter research found that beetroot juice appeared to help support more of the nitrate-reducing bacteria associated with better nitric oxide production. A related 2025 study specifically observed this shift in the oral microbiome after 4 weeks of nitrate-rich beetroot juice in older adults. I think this finding is genuinely more interesting than most miracle drink content gives it credit for, because it suggests beet juice's benefit for older adults may not just be about raw nitrate supply. It may be partly about how aging changes the bacterial ecosystem that processes that nitrate in the first place. That's a much more nuanced and current picture than your enzyme factory slows down, and it's backed by real recent research. I also want to be honest about the limits here, because not every study agrees. A well-designed 2024 randomized trial in older adults with already treated hypertension did not find sustained blood pressure improvements after several weeks of nitrate-rich beetroot juice, suggesting the benefit may genuinely vary depending on the person, their baseline health, and whether they're already on blood pressure medication. Similarly, one trial found no effect on 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure in obese older adults with type 2 diabetes. This is a consistent pattern across nutrition research generally. Effects that show up clearly in some studies don't always replicate in every population, and the honest scientific picture includes both the positive findings and the null ones. So what's the fair summary? Beet juice has real, meta-analysis level evidence for modestly lowering systolic blood pressure, with some of the more striking effects specifically observed in older adults, possibly related to age-related shifts in oral bacteria. It is not a guaranteed effect for every individual, and like most dietary interventions, the benefit appears to fade if you stop drinking it regularly, similar to how blood pressure medication works. The vitamin C question. What the combination research actually found. Now let's get to the specific claim that beet juice plus vitamin C dramatically outperforms beet juice alone, because this is where I want to slow down and show you something important. What happens when you actually go check a specific combination claim against the real trials that tested it? The biological reasoning behind combining nitrates with vitamin C is genuinely plausible and worth explaining, because it's not made up. Vitamin C is a well-established antioxidant, and oxidative stress, free radical activity, known to degrade nitric oxide before it can fully do its job. There's also a documented chemical pathway where vitamin C can help directly convert nitrite into nitric oxide, separate from the enzyme-based pathway. So researchers had good reason to test whether adding vitamin C to a nitrate source like beet juice would measurably boost the nitric oxide benefit. This part of the story is solid science, and I don't want to throw out a reasonable hypothesis just because, as we're about to see, the results were more mixed than expected. Here's what the actual trials found. A randomized, double-blind crossover study published in 2022 examined healthy middle to older-aged adults receiving beetroot juice alone, beetroot juice with a 200 mg vitamin C supplement, or beetroot juice with whey protein, measuring plasma nitrate and nitrite levels afterward. The result: there were no statistically significant differences in plasma nitrate or nitrite levels between the beetroot juice alone group and the beetroot juice plus vitamin C group. In plain terms, adding vitamin C in this particular trial did not produce a measurably bigger nitric oxide precursor response compared to beet juice on its own. That's a genuinely important finding, and it directly contradicts the dramatic 60% more dilation claim you'll see repeated in a lot of online content. I went looking for the specific study that claim is supposedly based on, and I couldn't verify it, which doesn't prove it doesn't exist somewhere, but it does mean I can't responsibly repeat it to you as established fact. Now, I don't want to oversimplify this into vitamin C does nothing, because the picture has more nuance than that one trial alone. A separate randomized, double-blind crossover study, specifically in adults aged 50 to 70 with elevated LDL cholesterol, tested 4 weeks of beetroot juice combined with a much higher dose, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily, against beetroot juice with a placebo, measuring actual endothelial function directly, not just blood nitrate levels. This is an ongoing and actively studied area, and at the time of this video, detailed outcome data from trials like this represents exactly the kind of research that's still being worked through which is a more honest place to leave you than a confident, made-up percentage. So here's the responsible current summary. The idea that vitamin C can support nitric oxide production through antioxidant protection and a direct chemical conversion pathway is real, legitimate biochemistry. Whether combining it with beet juice produces a meaningfully bigger real-world benefit than beet juice alone is genuinely still being tested, and at least one well-designed trial measuring this directly found no significant difference. I'd rather tell you, this is an interesting biologically plausible idea that hasn't been clearly proven to double anything than hand you a fake-sounding precise percentage that makes for a better headline. If you enjoy citrus with your beet juice, a squeeze of lemon, for example, there's no real downside. It tastes good, and the underlying biochemistry for why someone would try it is sound, even if doubling the effect oversells what we can currently say the evidence supports. Vitamin C, artery health, and what's separately well established. I do want to give vitamin C its due credit here, separate from the beet juice combination question, because vitamin C's broader role in vascular health is genuinely well-established science, just not necessarily through the specific doubles your beet juice mechanism. Vitamin C is well known to be involved in collagen synthesis, and collagen is a structural component of blood vessel walls, contributing to their elasticity and integrity. Vitamin C deficiency has long been associated with impaired collagen formation, scurvy. The classic vitamin C deficiency disease causes connective tissue and blood vessel fragility, which is some of the strongest historical evidence we have for vitamin C's structural role in vascular tissue. On population-level research connecting vitamin C status to cardiovascular outcomes, this is an active area of nutritional epidemiology, and multiple studies over the years have examined blood vitamin C levels in relation to stroke and cardiovascular risk. I want to be transparent that I could not verify the specific 20,000-person European Heart Journal study with a 42% lower stroke risk claim as accurately described. I'd encourage healthy skepticism toward that exact figure unless you can find the original paper, and I won't repeat it here without being able to confirm it. What I can tell you confidently, vitamin C deficiency is more common in older adults than many people realize, due to a combination of lower dietary intake and some age-related changes in absorption and utilization, and adequate vitamin C intake is a reasonable, low-risk, genuinely supported part of an overall diet that supports vascular and connective tissue health. That's a more modest claim than doubles your nitric oxide, but it's one I can actually stand behind. The practical, honest takeaway. So, pulling this all together, what's actually worth doing based on what the research supports rather than what makes the best headline? Beet juice has real meta-analysis-backed evidence for modestly lowering systolic blood pressure, with some particularly interesting findings in older adults possibly tied to age-related shifts in oral bacteria. A reasonable amount, based on the research, is in the range of 250 to 500 milliliters of beetroot juice, or an equivalent concentrated shot product, and effects appear to build with consistent use over weeks, fading again if you stop dyes, similar to how a lot of dietary interventions work. Adding vitamin C, whether through fresh lemon juice or a supplement, is a reasonable, low-risk thing to do, but I can't tell you it doubles the effect because the controlled research specifically testing that combination has produced mixed and sometimes null results. If you enjoy your beet juice with a little lemon, there's no real harm in it, and there's a plausible biochemical rationale. Just hold your expectations to what's actually been demonstrated, not what sounds most dramatic. If you're on blood pressure medication, this is the part that actually matters most for your safety. Beet juice's blood pressure lowering effect is real enough that combining it with medication could lower your blood pressure more than intended, leading to symptoms like dizziness or lightheadedness. Talk to your doctor, especially if you're starting a new regular habit of beet juice consumption, and keep an eye on your blood pressure readings as you do. And more broadly, be skeptical of any claim that pairs a real nutrient with a suspiciously precise multiplier, doubles, 60% more, 42% lower risk. Sometimes those numbers are real and traceable to a specific study. Often, especially in this exact corner of YouTube, they are not traceable to anything verifiable at all. The honest version of this topic is still genuinely interesting without needing a single invented statistic. And I'd rather you walk away from this video slightly more skeptical of dramatic health claims in general, not just this one. To sum up, nitric oxide and vascular aging are real areas of legitimate research interest. Beet juice has solid evidence for modestly supporting blood pressure in many people, especially some encouraging recent findings in older adults tied to oral microbiome changes. And the specific claim that vitamin C dramatically multiplies that effect is, at best, an interesting hypothesis with mixed experimental support so far, not an established fact. None of this replaces medical care, and if you're on blood pressure medication, please involve your doctor before making this a daily habit. If this gave you a more honest picture than the version you've probably seen before, the like button helps more people find it. Subscribe if you want more research breakdowns like this. And let me know in the comments, were you surprised that the vitamin C doubling claim didn't hold up the way it's usually presented? I read every comment. Take care of those blood vessels, and I'll see you in the next one.